Hi, in this short video we'll be discussing the Chrome extensions and effectively using vibe coding to create your own extension. So the idea is obviously that, previously a lot of us were kind of limited because you have to create this, you have to understand the JavaScript, and you have to understand the inner workings of the browser to control your experience on your machine. Obviously, in this case, we are discussing the extensions on your laptop, like in my case on Chrome, and you can vibe code your own extension to change your experience. So let's say on YouTube, something that we'll be working on today, basically blocking some of the channels, hiding certain components. You can do the very same things with LinkedIn if you don't like those stupid puzzle games that they have, or you want to change something on Pinterest, on just tune your own experience. Previously, obviously, you had a lot of extensions on the Chrome store and some third parties that were not on the Chrome store, but you never know what's inside of it. And in this case, you effectively give some external unknown JavaScript of unknown origins access to everything you are doing on the page. With extensions, at least with something that you vibe coded yourself, there is not a guarantee, but a higher probability that nothing gets wrong really. And years ago I watched this podcast with a guy who was, I think he was a CTO of Pinterest, and he explained this really simple concept, really simple in the machine learning community that was long before the LLMs. And basically you have this trade-off on the recommendation systems, right? On Pinterest, for example, you have the exploitation and the exploration. So there is this sweet spot where you keep exploiting the current model. Basically, you understand that those cohorts of users, and for example, I myself belong to this cohort. So in this case, I might like videos from that cohort. But the thing is that if we go 100% exploitation, I will never see anything interesting. And with the exploration on the opposite end, there is a probability that you will throw at me, like the model will throw at me, a lot of really random content, and I will never be satisfied with anything, and I will stop using the application. So the idea is to have this kind of a trade-off. And frankly speaking, YouTube is not great at this because they heavily invest into the exploitation. So the exploration is a rare thing. That's why it makes sense to delete your browsing history, viewing history, change your user agent, change the browsers, use the VPNs, and many other things. Sometimes it's just your homepage on YouTube. It's just populated with stuff that is irrelevant to you. And in this case, you can build your own extension that controls and changes your experience. Like in my case, it is obvious an example. That's something that was kind of built before, also vibe coded with Claude. So if I go to the extensions here and I enable the option which is called the developer mode, which allows me to install some weird extensions, and there is this option to load unpacked. And as you can see, there is this extension that's on my desktop, which is called Blocker, just a folder here. And if I select it here, there is an extension called TubeGuard, and it blocks channels, tracks your watch time per channel, and some basic statistics you can download. And it is enabled, as you can see. And it is mine. It is local. I didn't install it from anywhere, and this helps me, let's say, tune my experience on YouTube. So if I go here and I refresh the page, obviously I enabled watch history and browsed a couple of videos. You can see this button here, and I can effectively block the channel of Patrick Boyle. I wouldn't recommend it because this guy is awesome. So I blocked it, and it won't appear on my feed anymore. So effectively it changes my my feed, you can do the very same thing with shorts, for example, build your own extension to block shorts, like in general, you know, and there is also the tab with statistics. Oh, sorry, that's not the extension. That's the one, KubeGuard. So if you go here as block channels, you have the watch time, some limits, and you can also open up the statistics, and I see the block list here. So I blocked 2 channels today on this video. And if I was to watch something, I would be getting the stats here, and there is a possibility to download the CSV. Obviously, you can do it pretty much with every page, and in such a way just optimize your experience with certain web pages where revenue hungry product managers afraid of losing their jobs introduced some features that are not exactly optimal for your experience. So in this case, you can tune your own experience, and I enabled that extension on Edge as well because it is Chromium based. And I presume you can build also extensions for other browsers, like for example Mozilla. You just need to have the instructions. So especially for this video, I've created the implementation plan with Claude Opus 4.8, and I will include it in the description of this video, so you can use the MD file, read it. Obviously you don't need to use like 100% of it, just, you know, use it as an instruction, as an inspiration. Instructions, read it, take what's fitting your needs, because it will be fully tailored for the YouTube extension for Chrome, but you just need to provide your own instructions, use Claude to rewrite your own implementation plan. And obviously I also suggest using the official plugin called Brain Powers. I think that was the or Superpowers, sorry, Superpowers, that was the official plugin that you can find on the Claude.ai website. Install it, you won't regret, because it is great at writing plans, creating specifications, and basic iterative session with you to build something. So it is really good. Okay, again, if I refresh this page, I have those buttons. They are not exactly fancy. As you can see, they are jumping because of the description, the title, length, and some other things, but this is just a basic extension. So in this video, we will use the OpenCode to build that extension from scratch using that MD file I crafted with Claude. And in this case, we will also use the new model, which was recently released. Wait. Extensions, and I will just use the OpenCode. Yes. So I created a new folder. There is this MD file that will be linked in the description. So there's a goal, the architecture, and some other things based on the extension that I've already built before. And yeah, it's pretty extensive. And plus the recommendation was to make it as vendor agnostic as possible, so agent agnostic. So presumably this will be good enough to build. So we'll try the GLM models, and there's a new GLM model here, which is 5.2, and I've heard that it is as good as Opus. I'm not sure, I haven't tested it, but from my last experience with 5.1 on the GLM side, it is really good, I have to say. So analyze the implementation plan. Ask me if anything isn't precise, well formulated. create a to-do plan to build a Chrome extension. And I will just specify the file with an @ sign, and then I will just, tab, and there is this file here. So OpenCode obviously is running my OpenRouter key. So now it will read the file and propose a certain solution, most probably. We'll see. Okay, so it didn't find the file. Okay, so I'll have to find that file in another folder. Give me a second, I'll pause the video. Okay, I'm back. I found that file, and I will also link it into the description of the video. So presumably the implementation plan is like linking to the history and the description of the current extension that was already created before. I have added the file new extension spec md. Current directory. Your cloud MD says drive C as real space. Once, I didn't have enough space on this machine. How should I execute the 24 tasks sequentially? Batch by phase. I'll just use the autonomy to let it build it by itself and confirm. So it found that file, checked the size of my drive. Now I have 27 gigabytes free. It's more than enough. So create a to-do list based on the implementation plan and the extension specification file that I've just included. And now let's wait for the results. Obviously we won't be waiting for that long, and I won't be recording the waiting time. I'll get back when there is anything meaningful, like a failure or an issue or a question. If you don't get any, then I'll get back when we have the results, and we will try to enable this extension. Obviously, in this case, this will be a really similar extension to the one we already had in the very beginning of this video, but this is just an idea for you, like an inspiration to take back the control over the viewing habits of yours. Control the LinkedIn, remove ads from LinkedIn, optimize your feed on LinkedIn, add additional details. You can expand it. You can expand it with some scraping data. If you happen to have some favorite people on LinkedIn who tend to post something meaningful, you can score them. You can use AI to even check if the content that was posted is LLM based. It won't be accurate, but quite often with bad quality postings, you will understand that the post isn't exactly human made, and which makes it less valuable, obviously. So I'll get back to you once we have something happening. At this point of time, is just checking the versions, the libraries needed, and so on. And we have a task list of 24 items in here. Frankly speaking, I've used Claude Opus 4.8 yesterday, and I ran out of session limit, so tokens per this session. So I didn't finish up the task 24. So this implementation file might be somewhat broken. At least the latest items in that to-do list might be somewhat corrupted, short, or unverified. Just keep in mind. And at this point of time, I'll just post the video and we'll get back to the implementation once we have some progress there. Okay, we are back. It took around 40 minutes or something. And yeah, I already tested it. It's not as robust, not as good as the one that was built by Claude. But we have a folder here. So yeah, it had some issues with the manifest. So actually you have to load it from the Chrome MV3, the folder. And yeah, so that's the one. And I tried loading the entire folder and didn't work out. But basically now if I go to the extensions and yeah, you probably noticed that I already uninstalled my previous tube extension just to kind of have this fresh start. So I've refreshed the page. There are no block buttons anymore, nothing really. In the extension, the previous extension is not there. So now let's load. So we enabled the developer mode and we have load impact. And here's this extension called extension video, and we go to output and the Chrome MV3. I select it and here is my extension. I mean, the design and everything is not that great, not as we had on Claude, even so it wasn't perfect. In this one has to be corrected a couple of times, but still it is supposed to be working. So now if I go here and I enable this tube reclaim and I refresh my page, you will notice those tiny block buttons in here. So let's say I want to block this one and maybe this one and maybe this one, and those channels shouldn't appear anymore in my feed if I don't want to see them again. And if we go to the stats page here, open full stats, and I have those channels blocked. Well, obviously, as you can see, it's not exactly looking right. A couple of fixes are needed, but presumably it is working. And if I enable one video, and I'll just disable the sound and wait for the ads to finish. Presumably it has to collect the statistics. So let's wait for a couple of seconds there. It's a great movie, by the way. Okay, so if I refresh this, I'm not sure if the statistics will be collected. It's already there. Top channel, unknown. So there might be some issues there, but in general the idea was to start blocking the content and the channels that I don't like. Let's refresh this one as well. And maybe, yeah, let's block this one and maybe this one as well. And maybe this one. It's kind of difficult to test, obviously, because, you know, that's also the algorithm that's sitting behind it. But if you use YouTube as I do, so a lot of it, you will be able to see that some of the channels are not appearing anymore. And what it does, obviously you would say, okay, but the model is recommending those videos anyway, right? So what's the point of removing those if you don't watch the videos because you don't see them from selected channels? In this case, the videos from those channels and maybe from those topics as well won't be recommended anymore. So in such a way you are tricking the system by removing the components visible to you, and you, well, obviously you can't really react to them because you don't see them, and in such a way the recommendations will change. So if you don't really want something in your life, you know, there is this quote from Jordan Peterson that you don't feed something you don't want to become. So basically, if I don't want, for example, pics from old movies like this one, maybe, or maybe this one, and if I don't really need this in my life, in my feed, and I don't really want it to take my real estate, I can block it. And soon enough the models will stop recommending this content to me because I'm not reacting to it in any meaningful way for them. A meaningful way for them is obviously the views and the completion rates of videos, which is tied to advertising, obviously. The cost per views, right? So in this case, if I'm not watching the video, it won't recommend those channels to me and those videos as well, because I'm not watching them, so they can't really earn, right? So this is the way for me to have this wrapper, this overlay on top of the existing experience, let's say in this case with YouTube, where I'm blocking certain pieces and the machine will learn from my behaviors and it will stop recommending this stuff to me. And you can do the very same stuff to shorts. You can do this to other websites, let's say LinkedIn or anything like that, on Substack as well. So you can train the model by tweaking the UI a bit with the extension, and you can build it with something relatively cheap. So in this case, our stats was about 40 minutes, $6. Obviously, a couple of tweaks are needed. You have to check that it is indeed working as you expected. I wasn't really happy about the UI, I have to admit. I expected something else, but that might be also the implementation plans, recommendations, and the guidelines from Claude, because I didn't specify the exact UI part, how it is supposed to be working, so this part probably wasn't in the implementation plan. I have to admit I haven't read this. In any case, the extension is there. If you want to use my previous extension, I will link my GitHub repo in the video description. You can just download it and install it and start blocking the videos and the channels and monitor your stats and exports. So the extension that I've presented in the very beginning of this video. Or you can use the implementation plan to build something on your own, just as a guideline, as an implementation plan, as an inspiration to start blocking certain pieces on the UI that you don't find relevant to your cause. You can implement the AI checks, for example, using the OpenRouter, and yeah, that's a really interesting thing, because previously I was obviously reliant on many different extensions. I don't really know who owns them, who wrote them, what's inside of it, and it is tricky because in such a way you let some random anonymous JavaScript observe what you do on your machine, in your browser, and that's not really a good thing. So in this case, this extension is yours, it is local, and it was wipe coded by one of the models that you selected to the best of your liking, with your specifications. If you want the UI comments, my previous extension actually shows the stats, how many minutes you've spent per channel, and many other things, but obviously you don't need to do it. And yeah, just use the implementation plan and the specifications in the description of this video. If you want to build one on your own, use the OpenCode, it is great. Maybe the GLM 5.2, you might specify some more ideas and guidelines in terms of the UI and the actual experience, and yeah, so build something on your own. Message me, leave your comment in the description, under this video, and I hope that was useful. The extensions are really cool, especially if you use it on your desktop, because you can hide certain pieces that you don't like, and they won't really occupy your space anymore. They won't be visible, and soon enough YouTube or any website for that matter will learn that you are not to be distracted by those components, and they won't recommend them. Certain pieces will remain in place, obviously. The shorts, you can't really disable them to the best of my knowledge, but at the very least you can stop watching them, you can stop seeing them even, which is another really cool thing, because quite often their recommendation engines are obviously quite good, so quite often you'll see some pieces that are clickbaity, relevance is something that you watched before, and if you block the entire section, you won't be distracted by things like that. So again, hopefully this video was useful. Use the assets in the description, and thanks for watching. Have to disable the video somewhere here. Ciao.